Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Michael. Welcome back to another video. So today we're talking about iOS 13 and some of the small changes that Apple brought to the operating system that make a huge difference when you add them all together as a whole. So let's go ahead and get started. The first very minor change that does make a huge difference, at least in my life, is finally the ability to select different networks or Bluetooth devices from Control Center. So you can't do this directly from the first page of Control Center. You do have to actually enter this second pane right here. But now in iOS 13, you can actually just press and hold on either of these toggles. So for Bluetooth or for Wi-Fi, give me a thumbs up if you like the name of my Wi-Fi network there. But this is a very, very useful thing, especially if you want to switch between multiple Wi-Fi networks or multiple Bluetooth devices. Next up, I'll make this one quick because I know everyone has heard of it, but the volume heads-up display has been relocated in iOS 13 to the side now, beside the volume buttons. So say, for example, you're on Instagram and you want to play a video. Before in iOS 12, the volume indicator would come up directly over your content, but now, as you saw there in iOS 13, the volume indicator is right there on the left, and you can also control it with your finger, which is something you couldn't do with iOS 12. If you open up Safari, you'll notice a new icon on the top right next to the address bar. So Safari now has a download manager built in. As you can see here, I was able to download a couple wallpapers. You can download files that will not open on the iPhone also if you want to send them to your Mac later. I actually did this when I had to update the software on my iPhone. I downloaded, I think, the 4 GB IPSW file when I was out using data. And then when I got back to my computer at home here in the office, I was able to transfer that file over to my Mac. So very useful if you want to be able to download files on the go. Even if you can't open the file on your phone, you can still transfer it over to your computer later. So very powerful to have this option inside of Safari. So also we're going to stay in Safari for this next change, but the keyboard now has the option to swipe. So I know this has been an option for so many apps that are on the App Store right now, but now built into the stock keyboard on iOS 13, you can now swipe to type. So if I want to type hello, instead of doing this, Hello, I know everyone knows how to spell, all you have to do is swipe your finger over the letters, and the iPhone is doing a very good job here at guessing what words you want to type next. So I find the accuracy of this is much better than any of the alternatives available on the App Store. So Apple might not be the first when it comes to features like this, but when they implement it in their software, you know it is going to be perfected and probably is going to be the best implementation of that technology. So next up is inside settings and battery. If you click on battery and then go to battery health, there is a new option in iOS 13 called optimized battery charging. And pretty much what this does is your iPhone will learn the usage habits of you and your iPhone, and it'll learn usually what time you take your phone off the charger. And using that information, it will halt charging from 80 to 100% until just before it thinks you're going to get up in the morning. So what does this do? Well, usually when you charge your iPhone might reach 100% battery at like 3 a.m. and then it's just sitting on the charger for that next 5 or 6 hours or so until you get up, and you're wasting power. You're degrading your battery as it sends power into your iPhone even though it doesn't need it. So usually my iPhone will light up around 2:30 in the morning once it reaches 80%, telling me that charging has been halted until later in the morning. So this really makes sense. It doesn't make sense to be pumping power into your battery if it doesn't need it. So this is definitely something to turn on if you want the health of your battery to last longer throughout time. One really cool change I like inside the Files app in iOS 13 is you now have rich metadata. So I'll choose one of my folders here for school. I have a PowerPoint presentation. Before, you wouldn't be able to see as much data as you can in iOS 13 now about your files. So if you have to touch on any of the items and then click on Info, as you can see here, it pulls up a sheet very similar to what you might see on macOS, giving you all this rich metadata about the file. And this is only a PowerPoint presentation. It gives you way more information if you have a JPEG file, a PSD file, a PNG file, etc. So you get a lot more powerful information at a glance inside the Files app in iOS 13. If we jump inside Mail, there are so many more very powerful formatting options that I really appreciate. This was very hard to find in iOS 12, even though some of the features were there. Apple has made it a lot easier to access now in iOS 13. So when you're typing a message, if you want to make it look more professional, all you have to do is go into this menu and then click this little icon here, and now you have all of this formatting option for your email. So very powerful, a very nice change in iOS 13 in terms of Mail. So if you're like me and you get so many robocalls every single day of a robot trying to sell you something, you really want to turn on this feature. So if you jump into settings, I'll get out a battery here and scroll all the way down to phone, there is a new option called silence unknown callers. Now, if you turn this on, if anyone calls you that is not in your contacts list, it will just not show anything on your iPhone, and then you'll get a notification a little bit later saying that you have a missed call or a voicemail. So if you get a lot of calls from people that aren't in your contact list, you might not want to turn on this feature. But if every single person that you contact on a day-to-day basis is in your list on your contacts app in your iPhone, this is definitely a feature you want to turn on to stop all of those robocalls. And finally, possibly my favorite change, this is probably the smallest thing that Apple added in iOS 13. If I go to a website here, you can now grab the scroll bar on the right-hand side of the screen. So if I want to get to the bottom of this website to look at the footnotes, I wouldn't have to scroll. I can just grab the scroll bar and pull it down. Obviously, this works on a website where the list is a little bit longer. So all you have to do, like I said, is grab the scroll bar. You get a little bit of haptic feedback when you do that for iPhones that have a haptic engine, and then you can just push the scroll bar up or down to scroll. So a very, very small change that Apple added, but it is appreciated. So those were some of my favorite small changes that Apple made in iOS 13. Make sure to tell me your favorite in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Michael, and I'll see you in the next video.